Two ministers on Friday blamed the current food crisis in the country on the unintended consequences of the two reforms introduced by the federal government on petrol subsidy and forest. No, na Tinubu na go talk because na Tinubu talk say in dem remove am. Minister of Agriculture Abubakar Kyari attributed the food shortage in the country to the devaluation of the Naira, which has made the nation's currency very weak compared to the CFA franc, the currency used by 8 other states in the West Africa sub-region. Kyari made the disclosure on Friday at the National Assembly in his presentation before the Senate committees in France, appropriation, banking, insurance, and other financial institutions. The former acting national chairman of the All Progressives Congress (APC) lamented that the devaluation of the naira had put neighboring countries at an advantage to buy cheaper farm products from Nigeria, which are now consequently smuggled across the border by peasants. Okay, so they are now buying it cheaply. Hey, you see now? I beat Lagos, I beat Lagos. He said, what we are faced with today is the undocumented export of food to our neighboring countries. Today, one CFA is 2.50 naira. That is to say, 100 CFA is 2,200 naira. That used to be 400 naira. Can you imagine a few years ago? When you look at our neighboring countries, all our neighboring countries around us, the CFA is their currency, and because of the devaluation of the naira, our food is the cheapest around the neighborhood. So you find a lot of undocumented export smuggling across our porous borders to these neighboring countries. You see, from that angle, which is making sense. The minister who said the federal government might be compelled to again seal up the borders against the country's neighbors expressed concern over unrestrained exportation of certain farm produce by nationals of China, India, and Turkey, who earn foreign exchange from it while the country earns nothing in return. He said the other angle that over we have over the period is the unavailability of foreign exchange. A lot of investors, Indian, Chinese, Turkish, are the operating that are operating in this country buy our crops, but that are sought after outside, like soya beans, and buy them at exorbitant prices just to earn foreign exchange. When they go outside there to earn foreign exchange, the worst part is that most of these monies are not repatriated back to us. Export is a good thing for us, but when you don't earn the foreign exchange and it is not repatriated back to us, and government doesn't even have any income from it, I am sorry, that is not a good sign. So what we are trying to do here is to ramp up production. I think it is an issue of economics between supply and demand, but unfortunately we have to see how we can secure food for our 230 million citizens, and at the same time, if this economic situation continues, then you have to seal up the borders, which is against the ECOWAS issue. Kyari's counterpart in the Ministry of Budget and Planning, Atiku Abubakar Bagudu, noted that the removal of fuel subsidy is also affecting planting by farmers. Bagudu said the benefits of fuel subsidy reforms have to be supported by measures that will guarantee food production and stability. So these ministers now are regretting that Tinubu went to go and do this. They told him, not that they did not tell him, they told him that this is not the way to go, but he said now so he won't do in thing, and now all of them are now blaming him for doing that. But initially all of you were hailing him. They did not even check the consequences of this whole thing in future, because they themselves are they don't belleful. They are overfed. But now it's becoming shameful. It's shameful to them that this naira is just our naira is just being devalued on a per second per minute basis. From our perspectives, particularly from budgets and planning, there are places today in about 18 states in the country where you can still plant rice for the dry season farming, including the constituency of the chairman of the national planning of in 5 local governments, where if care is not taken, not for reasons of insecurity, 70% of the planting areas might not be cultivated because of fuel cost. It is the same thing in a number of places in the constituency of my brother, Senator Adamu Aliero, the balancing of the reforms and ensuring the necessary measures are implemented urgently in order to ensure that we support the reforms in the points made by Senator Aliero, and the commendable act of removing fuel subsidy needs to be supported by measures that support domestic production in order to achieve the full impact. As the senators grilled members of the economic management team, they asked the federal government to end the pain of Nigerians by applying urgent workable solutions in its economic recovery policies. With the inflation rate at 28.92%, increased hunger and exchange rate of about 1,500 naira to the United States dollar, insecurity and scarcity of food, the lawmaker said President Tinubu and his economic team must respond with measures that would yield faster results. The team, which was led by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, appeared before the Joint Senate Committee, co-chaired by Senators Sani Unsa and Ade Tokunbo Ashiru. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Yemi Kadasu, was also in attendance. The senators grilled the ministers for over 3 hours, seeking explanations for the current economic hardship, particularly inflation, exchange rate crisis, insecurity, and food scarcity. This insecurity and food scarcity that have forced Nigerians to start protesting publicly in some states of the federation. They noted that the sufferings faced by Nigerians have continued to worsen in spite of constant assurances by government that its interventions were yielding fruits. For instance, Senator Orji Kalu told the team that the manufacturing and agricultural sectors are practically dead. Kalu said the rush for dollar in Nigeria had reached an embarrassing level where some goods and services were now priced in the United States currency in Nigeria. The use of dollar in Nigeria should be an abomination. I can see even shops in Abuja advertising their goods in dollars. Are we going to dollarize our economy? When you people were sharing dollar with during you people's primary, no, that time. The problem is that the things that they are accusing maybe an average Nigeria of doing is what they have been doing at larger scale. So they are pretending as if they themselves they don't spend dollars. Okay. The question is that what are your plans to stop the threat by Nigeria Labour Congress to embark on protests? He said Senator Abdul Ninji observed that Nigerians had heard more speeches and promises from government officials than solutions to their sufferings. The whole thing, you just get as a B. That's it. That is the number one cause. Nobody goes to the farm anymore because they will be kidnapped and possibly killed. Government should address this vital issue. Government kill you there. When you give a bricklayer money to buy your good, you have lost the money. This government should get the message right. It is not about food shortages. It is about the unbearable cost of food prices. There are food stuff all over the place, but out of the reach of the masses. The message should be read, understood, analyzed, and solution designed by the government. In wife they pray. So Tinubu'S wife they pray. What did they call am say? They pray say, in Jesus' name, God will do this. Not be by that. He go they remove some grains. I be what I don't know from the silo. The food story. For how many people? Simply blame PDP. You have less than 8 years more to be in power for 16 years, but it will be failure on the APC if you land us back to the economic and living standard of the pre-2015 era of the PDP. Shameless people. They are shameless. So guys, let's hear your opinion and have your take on this.